Welcome and good morning. June the 10th, 2018, that of a Sunday, and this is the Crypto Day morning and the Money Charts channel. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, starting off within the daily time frame. Like always, everything within your own risk, own reward, and for myself, risk reward management, always job number one. And within the last few days, price action had several days, periods, trading within this 18 average after establishing a low or a leg lower low. At this point, wasn't really able to get above the 18 highs, so the best it could have done was flatten out, and we can see in today's session that it is leaving the 18 average of lows. On the weekly term time frame, with the price action mainly going sideways over the last several weeks. Barely an uptrend line, but one might see it better just as really support in this area. And definitely still haven't done anything to get out of this resistance area. There has been two tests within the 18 since this low. Number one coming in here. Didn't get up to the 18 average of highs, making a lower high from anywhere within this all-time high level. That was enough to make the 18 average go sideways, and because the decline in here, that started to decline it, but because it has been unable to break support and thus barely making higher lows, the rate of descent within this 18 has been very low. So one could say that yes, it's a declining 18 average in here, but it's relatively neutral within the trend. Within this overall market behavior, it was coming from a spectacular uptrend, which now has all of this empty space that it was trading at, that it isn't anymore. And if you break through a neutrality stage like this, even if it's just for one leg lower, and you see that this 18 starts to decline, that's what I'm looking to see happen, is fill some of this empty space. For you're going to have markets basically do one of three things at all times: go up, go down, go sideways. And spectacular up move, now it's been going sideways. So it's got to either continue its sideways move and thus just stay within the range. It's got to go down and thus break support and establish some of this area. I've already went through the two next key numbers at 3,000 and 1,000 on the long-term time frame. And then, of course, the third one is go higher in at that of, breaking above this resistance, testing previous high, and then going above it. Of course, you always want to take a look for that failed move as well. This happens more and more within these charts. To me, a failed situation is when you break through a key level of support or resistance, and in this case, 6,000 key level support. You make a move that is noticeably below it, but you spend very little time within the area when you go down there. Quickly thereafter, you re-enter back to your previous trading range, and in this case, if it were to do that, this would be the previous trading range in here. Spend a little bit of time in there, maybe only 2 or 3 periods, which would be about 2 or 3 weeks. And then thereafter that, when you start to see a break from the next level above that, you're looking at the classic failed breakdown lower, break, and then fast move higher. That happens quite frequently. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but definitely to be and look for it when you have the situation of the break of key support, because that really only tells you that's the one of two things that's going to happen, really. It's either going to fail its breakdown, and thus you can expect fast move higher, or it's not going to fail the breakdown, thus it should successfully make a new leg lower to its next key level at about 3,000. Thus, a box area here we can see would be high 4,000s, 5,000s would make, or about 5,000 would make sense to where the failed breakdown low would be if that happens. Okay, let's now go back to some shorter term time frames. We were, of course, on the daily to open it, and of course it's been making all of these lower highs amongst such, and spending a decent amount of time below the 7,700 level. It has consistently stayed below it since now May the 23rd. So that's about close to 3 weeks now, well over 2. Let's look at this on a shorter term time frame, 3 hour. And here you have the stand sideways within this area back to where it came from as it got there originally on around June the 3rd. Price action had this fast move lower, filling some of this empty space as I talk about. And then it comes back and it didn't find support at its previous level. Of course, that previous level coming in here. It hasn't had that large of a leg lower, but I guess you could say this is significant enough. When I see something like this, I'm going to be very cautious on the rally. For this level here, pierce above, and definitely within the 18 is an area I'd be looking as a possibility of having a strong possibility for resistance or strong percentage chance. As overall, not only does the short term look towards going down here, but on the daily term time frame, the levels of a decent washout possibility are definitely for me in play. And on the single hour time frame, unless it's on the 1 minute time frame, it obviously ripped through its previous level. And that's what's been going on with a lot of these moves for the last little while. It's been fast up or fast down. There has been tremendous amounts of them. There's this one, fast up, fast down, fast up. There we are, down, up. This one kind of was fast down, but not really. But even here going down, back up quickly. And interestingly here, this is that failed move situation. Because when this broke down below this level of support, there's the failed breakdown because it came back faster. Managed to get above that previous resistance level in here. And even hold and stay above it for an okay amount of time. That's strong. But that was the high. So overall, this attempt in here is becoming that warning signs for the failed breakout move, which to me could indicate that there could be still some more down move within this before you get your next big rally higher. Again, like I'm stating, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing manages to come up here or anywhere and then sell down again. But this thing, the moves can happen at any time. As we see in here, if this thing on this hour were to have a big sell-off, I'd be saying, well, look at the move. Lower highs, lower lows. And it left the 18 average area after this correction, and it was just due to go down. It's not a surprise, I should be stating. But at the same point, whenever you have a big move, at any given time, there's going to be a reversal that's going to enter within this market. Because like with every one of these moves, it's always going to happen. But if it's got a long-term target trajectory rate of more than a 50% decline, and a lot of these coins are showing big volatility, and it's not a surprise for such to occur, then the downward side move from any possible play can be big. The overall volatility for the market I find relatively low compared to its previous moments, which is basically based on the size of these candles compared to the size that preceded it. And because I look at this as the indecisive market and it will remain such within this range, then that could easily have a lot of these choppy options back and forth. And there is more of a reason to be more aggressive towards the bias of much lower prices if it manages to go down below this point and thus end the neutrality stage and state that it's going to have a big move lower. But I'm never going to be surprised in here if there's ever any decent sized rallies that come from here, because I'm going to be looking at up and down choppy action within this range. Now, with that being said, and I haven't said this yet, is when we look at this range, it's definitely over 10,000. I could say it's 10.5, but then with this level of resistance, not that big of a move from 10,005 to 11,006. So it's got to get above this sideways move. It's pretty much closer to the lower end here than it is to the upper end here. So any type of monstrous rally attempts that can come out are still going to proceed with a lot of question marks for myself until, of course, it can tell me and confirm to me that this sideways movement is completed. After all, these are wild, wild markets back in the bull market stages, and it's got to work to get back into that point. But when you are in bull market stages, it's never a surprise to see moves like this. This is where it came from 5,500 and did a 4x gain almost without really much of a correction at all. So it's given back pretty much most of those gains, but it's only given back some of the overall gains within this bull market. Again, this is a 23.6% correction at 6,000, a 38.2% down correction at 3, and a 61.8% correction at 1,000, based on the $20,000 high, around that area, of course, and this low at about 150 or 160 or whatever that number happens to be. Thank you for tuning in to today's video, and have yourself a magnificent day. Bye-bye.